everybody, and welcome to another episode of Geeks and Goblins. How you doing out there, world? Utopian Revolt, how are you doing, my friend?
I am doing fantastic, man. Just finished having a bunch of wings with Friendly Felines Father. It is Father's Day, so those of you in the chat, make sure to take a second and send that dad just a nice little text. That's gonna make their day. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I don't know anything about today's holiday, but I'm happy for everyone out there that can enjoy it and celebrate it. I hope that was awkward for everybody, as intended. I'm doing great today, man. I'm having a fantastic day. You know, just out here chilling in the world, just enjoying things. I'm seeing like some video game news like pop up on this channel I got open right here, and I'm like, God, I love video games. Like,
yeah, man.
Just reading that.
It's been a crazy couple weeks, right? Just not just with video games, but with like just everything. It feels like.
Oh yeah, like media has just kind of been wild right now. I mean, like just like everything from what we're going to talk about in the weekly roundup with Summer Game Fest. We're not going to talk about this during the weekly roundup, but like Ezra Miller officially losing his mind. Like it's like just I'm so hype for everything that's happening. I have this weird fantasy that because Ezra Miller is just like gonna like be done with the DC EU after all this, that they're just gonna wake up and be like, you know what, screw it, release the movie, who cares, and we wake up tomorrow and it's out and about. But unfortunately, I know that's not gonna happen.
Could you imagine if they did that and it ends up being like the best movie that DC's ever put out? Just imagine the or not even backlash, but like what would the consequences of that be with the whole thing going on right now? Oh man, weird, strange things.
Very, very strange things. Very, very a whole new season of strange things, some would say. Let's go ahead and jump right into the weekly roundup. Let's kick this episode off. And as a matter of fact, before we jump right into the weekly roundup, we'd like to apologize formally for having to postpone the stream until today. You guys know how life is. Sometimes things happen, and we just gotta move on. So we're here today. We are live, and we are alive. Utopian Revolt, lead us into the beginning of the weekly roundup, please.
The first item on this week's weekly roundup is Diablo Immortal has earned $24 million during its first 2 weeks of availability.
That's a big number. It was downloaded more than 8 million times.
Yeah. Despite what some may be saying about the hyper monetization of the game, which of course this title and this topic is definitely leading credence to. The game is very much very fun, and a lot of people seem to be enjoying it, and it's one of the most popular games on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store right now.
Oh man, and like just to add to that, I'm reading here, to date US players have contributed about 43% of all the game's earnings. So take that 24 million, get the 43% out of it, and that's how crazy gamers in the US are. We just willing to just throw ducats at that thing. Speaking of Diablo Immortal, go check out Utopian Revolt's short form review over here on the channel. It should be like right underneath you, honestly, of Diablo Immortal. Go check that out, give it a like, give it a comment, and share it with a friend. Moving on to our next topic in the weekly roundup, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, New Crisis Core, and Final Fantasy VII Remake is now a trilogy. That is a lot of Final Fantasy. A whole lot of Final Fantasy at that.
Man, listen, that showcase or that event, whatever you want to call it, was I think only 15 to 30 minutes or something like that. But we got a lot of news out of that. And I think a lot of people left that feeling very excited, very happy, especially fans of Crisis Core, something that we have not seen for a very, very long time. Also, I mean, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, that's a pretty cool name. At this point, the next Final Fantasy is probably going to be called Revengeance. Who knows? But exciting stuff. I'm definitely very excited. Final Fantasy 16 coming out soon, but we're also getting Rebirth that same year. It's a good time to be a Final Fantasy fan, I think.
Absolutely. And a quote from the producer, Yoshinori Tassi. Making the middle part of a trilogy has its own challenges, but there are plenty of classic second installments in the world of film that are defined by stunning story twists and deeper explorations of their characters. So I like that idea behind why they decided to go with the trilogy. You know, they want to be able to flesh that out even more. Having loved the first part of this trilogy, the remake, it fleshed out characters. It felt like even more, and I felt like I connected to those characters even more than I did when I played it initially as a youngin. And hopefully this will be a rebirth of more PSP classics. Yeah, a rebirth. Anybody? No? Yeah? I feel Azu staring me to death through the walls. Why don't you just go ahead and jump us into number 3 in the weekly roundup before my wife murders me?
That's 2 dad jokes in one weekly roundup. I just want to put that out there. So next topic on the weekly roundup: a Game of Thrones sequel series starring Jon Snow is reportedly in the works for HBO Max. Oh,
I I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I mean, no, go ahead, speak your piece.
listen, Jon Snow is definitely one of my favorite characters in that show, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. I straight up think that it's way too early for a sequel series. I don't know how this is going to play out, especially with the reception of that last season. I think they were very smart to begin diversifying with prequel series like the House of Dragons that we're going to be getting soon. Is it too early for a sequel series, OG Goblin?
I think the question is not so much is it too early for a sequel series. I think the question is, wasn't Game of Thrones basically a Jon Snow story to begin with? I remember him fondly as essentially the focal character of the entire show. It always seemed like it was about Jon. So to get a spin-off for me is a little odd, but I don't know. It actually makes me a little worried for his appearances as Dane Whitman in future MCU films, the Black Knight superhero. It makes me a little concerned for that, just in the sense that, you know, Game of Thrones is a very big endeavor. So I ask myself, you know, how much more are we really going to be seeing him? I'm sure he's got contracts signed and all that for Marvel already. So hopefully, you know, our beloved Kit Harington is not drawn in too many paths. I know that he suffered with addiction, alcohol addiction, and he's just now recovering from that. And just being, you know, an actor myself, I know how stressful the career can be. So hopefully he doesn't get drawn in too many corners and get back into that little situation. But either way, more Game of Thrones. I'm not opposed, but I'm not exactly excited.
It all depends on the execution, honestly.
Couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. Moving on, for a lot of people, this is going to make a lot of people happy, especially if they haven't heard about it. You gamers you can't shut up about this Dragon's Dogma. So since you can't shut up, I guess all your yip yapping finally worked. Capcom has announced Dragon's Dogma 2 after 10 very long years. Utopian Revolt, what's your take?
I have not played much of Dragon's Dogma. I've put maybe around 2 or 3 hours into the original one. I'm not gonna lie, it's really cool for an action RPG. I can see why a lot of people fell in love with it. So I think the fact that this is coming after so long, it's big news. It's big news. Am I gonna play it? Probably. Is it gonna be on Game Pass day one? Probably, like every other freaking game coming out. It seems like. But I'm not gonna lie. I'm looking forward to this. It's probably going to be a couple years away, but I'm excited. I'm definitely excited.
As always with any video game announcement, there's a layer of excitement for me there. You know, I don't have an attachment to the Dragon's Dogma franchise. I played it briefly. I have a strangely deep-rooted distaste for Capcom games. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I know. But like, I just have never found a Capcom game that I've loved. So, or at least that I can recall right now anyway. But Dragon's Dogma has a very tight-knit fan base that loves that game. So happy for them. Very, very happy for them.
Yeah, I am as well. But moving on to the final topic of this week's Weekly Roundup. A Hercules live-action film adaptation has found its director in Aladdin's Guy Ritchie. God This is amazing. OG Goblin and I were actually talking about this a little bit before the show. Guy Ritchie is one of my favorite directors. His movies always have a very distinct style to them. I am so excited about this. How about you, OG?
You know, I had to watch the recent live action Aladdin movie twice to really see how I felt about it. It's the second time where I came around. I'm like, you know, it's not that bad. Does it have some story beats that it misses? Absolutely. But all in all, I think it's a nice take. Guy Ritchie, you gotta love Guy Ritchie. Snatch, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. A fantastic director, and maybe for the more standard film-going audience, the Sherlock Holmes films is what you'll be familiar with him, as well as Aladdin. I think maybe the thing that disappoints me here would probably be that they are not adapting the cartoon, more so as drawing inspiration from it. So that is, especially in the realm of live action Disney films, always a kind of scary thing. I feel like for whatever reason, Disney kind of loses touch with the thing that made these things so beloved, you know? I feel like Mulan, they really dropped the ball there. I think Lion King was... I personally like Lion King, although I do completely understand the gripes that people had with it. And, of course, Aladdin was good, you know? It wasn't an exact adaptation, but, you know, they had some creative liberties. So hopefully they don't do too much of that. But
Right.
all in all, I'm excited.
I think personally, the best live action movie from Disney, or I guess live action remake or adaptation, has been The Jungle Book. But of course, like every other one of these live action remakes, it's been very divisive. So I don't know how I feel about it. I am excited because it's Guy Ritchie. It's going to be entertaining in one shape or form. Is it going to be good? Who knows? But I am excited.
You know, I consistently forget about the Jungle Book adaptation. I do not know why. I do know why. I never liked the Jungle Book. I'll just say it. I'm not afraid of you people. I've never liked the Jungle Book. It just never. I don't know. I don't know. I never liked it. Sue me.
Ah man, you know, maybe I will do that because you're starting off the show with a lot of hot takes.
Oh, they're gonna get
So
hotter.
let's continue this train, shall we? Our
Spicy.
very first topic for this week's show is Obi-Wan Episode 5 review. You know, I think I started off last time. OG Goblin, why don't you start us off with your impressions?
My impressions. All right, they're gonna be quick. They're gonna be smooth. They're gonna be like hot fire. They're gonna be like lava on frickin' lava planets. It's gonna be insane. 5 out of 5, best episode of the series so far. I mean, this episode is so hot you could probably make a Sith Lord out of it. I mean, if you had a complaint about episode 4, you cannot complain about episode 5. You cannot complain about episode 5. So that's exactly what I'm here to do. I'm not going to complain about episode 5. I'm only going to talk about the things that I absolutely loved. Real quick, everybody on social media was complaining, oh, we want Clones Wars flashbacks, and we want to see young Anakin, and why'd they even cast him if he's not even going to be outside the suit? Well, he's out of the suit, all right? He's out of the suit. He's got the lightsaber. They're fighting, and it's just amazing. It's just amazing. I'm gonna shut up and let you say more constructive things because I have to grovel to the audience for the next however long this segment is.
Oh man, okay. So Obi-Wan Episode 5 is a third consecutive 4.5 out of 5 geeks for me. So it's funny. It's very, very funny because despite these last 3 episodes very high scores, I can't help but still feel underwhelmed with the show. I feel like, I'm not gonna lie, I think most of my disappointment comes from us being told that we were gonna get 6 1-hour long episodes, and it just feels like it's going by too quick. And before this episode, the runtime kept getting shorter. And honestly, I didn't like that because I want to see as much Ewan McGregor as possible, please. Aside from that, going strictly to this episode, if last episode was an homage to A New Hope, this episode was 100% Hoth in Empire Strikes Back. Those flashback sequences was everything that I've wanted ever since they announced that Hayden Christensen was coming back as Anakin, as Darth Vader. Basically, the correlation between the past and the present, seeing Obi-Wan make his decisions and his predictions based off of what he knows about Anakin. Same thing with Darth Vader making predictions on how to break Obi-Wan. Having that back and forth really strengthened this into what I think has been the best part of this whole show since the very beginning. Their relationship together, Anakin's relationship with Obi-Wan, his realization that Obi-Wan is still out there and that he's almost within his grasp. Obi-Wan grappling with the fact that Anakin is still alive. We got some really, really cool backstory with Reva, something that I don't think anyone was necessarily shocked by. I believe
Not
that our
the
very own
slightest.
OG Goblin predicted this within our very first episode review.
I did.
Um, I think just a lot of the criticisms that certain people have had, certain people above me in this frame have had about the show, specifically Leia. A lot of those issues were kind of like ironed out, I think, during this episode. It very much was the best episode. I hesitate giving it a 5 out of 5, mainly because towards the end it felt a little weird. Specifically when Reva, going into story spoilers here, for those of you who don't know how we do things yet. But Reva got stabbed in her belly by the Darth Vader, and she just kind of shrugged it off. We've seen multiple. We're talking about more than a handful of characters get the same lightsaber wound and immediately dying. But somehow, Reva, she is strong with the Force. She is able to crawl and advance the story for the next episode, create some suspense for the next episode by finding Obi-Wan's communicator. I don't know where things are gonna go with episode 6. I feel like it's very I think it suits the show that it's gonna be ending in Tatooine. I really don't know where they're gonna go, but going back to this episode, I think it was very well done. The directing was a little bit better. The writing was a little bit better. Some of the emotional sequences were definitely a lot more emotional. Tala dying is definitely a lot more of an impactful hit than freaking, what was his name? Wade dying.
Wade, yeah, sure.
That should tell you all you need to know.
Extra number one, as far as I'm concerned.
Right. So I'm very happy with what we got. I think certain things could have been done better, which is why I didn't give it the 5 out of 5. Like again, at the very ending sequence, when all the rebels, when the way, I forget their name at this point, but when they are escaping, and then we see Darth Vader unleash the Force Unleashed type of force power, just dragging that freaking ship down. Holy crap, that was amazing, first of all. But the fact that he was so easily tricked with that, I think it would have been better is if instead of another ship being there, just keeping it with one ship and having that be when Reva tries to attack Vader. Little things like that kept it from being a perfect score for me. But OG Goblin, I digress. I would like to know a little bit more of your thoughts on this episode.
So let me tell you my favorite thing about the episode. Some people would think that I'm about to sit here and riff on the entire Vader sequence. Definitely second. Maybe even third, honestly. Which is, I don't know. I guess I can't rank them because there's so many great moments in this episode, but there are 3 in particular that I feel like I need to discuss. Number 1. My personal, one that sticks in my mind, that has consistently been in my mind since I watched the episode. The flashback scene, I feel like people have not talked about what it really is, at least in my opinion, in the episode. It's beautiful because it tells a story. It's not just a flashback that we're seeing. It is the pacing of the episode, and it tells the tale of what's happening. You see this back and forth between Anakin and Obi-Wan really through the whole episode. The whole episode is a mind game of a little segment of a war. You know, seeing who's going to outlast. Excuse me, seeing who's going to outlast, who is going to penetrate the defenses of this base first, who is Obi-Wan going to actually be able to hold the base? You know, how far in will Vader get? How will they clash again? Will they meet? What is the point of the flashback? And I feel like a lot of people miss out on the fact that, you know, it's telling Vader's growth in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's telling Vader's growth in a lot of ways, in the sense that Anakin was always about that brute force. He was about showing off. He was about, like, proving himself to be the best. And especially in that time of the flashback, you know, Obi-Wan has to be there to humble him and say, hey, specifically the quote, he says, until you overcome it, you are a great warrior, Anakin, but your need to prove yourself is your undoing. Until you overcome it, a Padawan you will still be. And that is the dance. That is that whole flashback fight segment. And I think it culminates at the Reva Vader fight. We see a Vader that doesn't even ignite his saber. He completely outclasses her in every way, in the Force, in lightsaber combat. In every way he outclasses her. And frankly, I don't think that is the way Anakin would have approached that battle at all. At least the Anakin we see in that flashback. The Anakin we see in that flashback is going in on the offensive, going strong, brute force attacks to take her down. Not to say that he would have lost to her in this instance if he was the same, but to say that it shows his growth as a Force user and as a duelist. He knows how to play the long game. He has that patience. And frankly, as I've said a couple of times now to a couple different people, he's now at the stage where he can toy with people.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Reva didn't stand a chance. She was not at any point. She was never having the high ground in that fight at any point. From the very beginning, he was always in control. Always in control. And I think that flashback scene paints that picture so well leading up to that. Meaning, my second favorite thing would definitely be the entirety of the Vader sequence. From the second he walks through the base, like, just power. Bro. This episode reminds you, like, this is Darth Vader we're talking about. This is the hallway scene in Rogue One. All right?
Could I say something real quick?
Go ahead, please.
I just want to say that from all, like, the shortcomings that Disney Star Wars has had, the one biggest thing that they have dramatically improved over the original trilogy, over anything that we've seen so far, this is peak Darth Vader. We've never, ever, ever seen a Darth Vader like this, man.
Peak.
Oh, my God. Go ahead. I didn't mean to take the floor from you.
No, it's okay. I've said everything else there's for me to say about that particular sequence. I mean, just like him dragging the ship out of the force grab, just like, bro, like they're slowly trying to show that Vader is on like Star Killer levels of force ability, and like that grab and then just pulling it straight down and just tearing the ship open with the force, just like, this is the Vader we've been wanting. This is the Vader we've been wanting. Y'all better give us a Vader series after this, because if you don't, it don't make sense. I love James Earl Jones. We gotta use him before he goes. Just give us the frickin' series. Just give us the damn series, Star Wars. Please, Disney. Oh my gosh. And then lastly, seeing Obi-Wan take on all of those clone troopers, just like that whole battle sequence as they retreat back into the base. Just these last two episodes have given us Jedi Obi-Wan again. He's still not 100% at his confidence, I think, up until the end of the episode anyway, where he really starts to, realize what needs to be done. But we're getting peak Obi-Wan, we're getting peak Vader. I loved every minute of it. I want to take away 0.5 of my score because of the how readable the Reva backstory was. The slight twist that she's actually hunting Vader. hunting with quotation marks.
I did not expect that, to be honest. Now, one to kind of like piggyback off of all the positivity that you're exuding over this episode, and rightfully so. Another thing that I kind of disliked, it's weird because it's kind of like a mixed bag. But her conversation with Obi-Wan through the door, there was a lot of good bits about that, but I also found it very, very, very strange that Obi-Wan, when asked, "Where were you when Anakin was attacking?" Um, um, I was on Utapau trying to end the entire freaking Clone Wars. Thank you very much. And then my troops, they turned on me and tried to freaking kill me. What? He just stayed quiet. He just stayed quiet. And I feel like if he would have added that extra little bit, Reva would have been all on board with his plan. No, but he decided, no, you know what? Listen, I'm not going to say anything. That part didn't feel very believable to me. But I feel like that is kind of what happens when you talk to somebody through a door.
Well, I mean, it's that flip a little bit, though, right? It's that little bit of a flip, you know, to make him that little stab. Like, yeah, we know what he was doing, but at the same time, of course, you know, the mind of a child, right? Like, the mind of a child, you know, where are these people that are supposed to be protecting us? Where are they? And, like, either way, you know, I'm sure... Even though I'm sure in the back of somewhere of Obi-Wan's mind, he must feel like, you know, he could have done more. You know, he has to feel that way. If you don't feel that way in that situation, I don't think you would be a good person. You know, like you have to have that thought, like, could I have done more to solve this problem? And the answer is probably yes. I mean, I think we've had enough time to like dive deep into the Star Wars anthology and kind of solve the problem that is Anakin turning to the dark side all by ourselves as fans. I can pinpoint a good couple of things that would have solved this whole problem, like the Jedi not being such a-holes for one. Their hubris is what brought them to the point. I mean, Luke said it himself. It was the hubris of the Jedi that allowed Darth Sidious to rise to the ranks of the Galactic Senate and, you know, become Emperor Palpatine and, you know, raise Darth Vader. That's the reality of it. From the words of Luke Skywalker himself, is the hubris of the Jedi, and I put that on all of them, Obi-Wan included.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I wouldn't go as far as saying that. I straight up think Mace Windu, if he wasn't such a, I don't know, if he wasn't so hard-headed and if he didn't seem like he had such an outward hatred for Anakin, hubris. I feel like that exactly, hubris. I feel like if in episode 3, when Anakin comes to Mace Windu and confides in him about Palpatine being a Sith Lord, if Mace Windu would have been like, you can come with me, we will arrest this guy together, but there is a chance that we may have to put him down for good. Anakin would have been like, okay, you know what? Listen, you're trusting me with this. I appreciate it. Let's go together. That's all Mace Windu had to do. I feel like Obi-Wan Kenobi was the only Jedi that really met up with the code. You know what I'm saying? He really lived up to it. And I was reading a Reddit thread a couple days ago. It's basically talking about how Anakin's descent into the dark side came mainly from attachment to his mother, from attachment to Padme, just all that, from attachment to Ahsoka, as we've seen later on with the Clone Wars. But we've also seen Obi-Wan struggle with that. We've seen his relationship with Qui-Gon. We all know he views Qui-Gon as a father. Seeing his relationship with Anakin, going as far to say that you were my brother during that fight on Mustafar. Having his relationship with Duchess Satine from Mandalore. He's gone through so much loss, but he's never let it affect who he is or what he believes in. I feel like Obi-Wan was and is the perfect Jedi. So I don't really attribute Anakin's fall on Anakin or on, sorry, I don't attribute Anakin's fall on Obi-Wan at all. I feel like it's everybody around, including Yoda. But that's my little piece on that.
I don't know. I'm going to have to disagree with you there. I think there are multiple points in the story where Obi-Wan could have, you know, appealed to Anakin a little bit more. I think the fact that Obi-Wan is the perfect Jedi was part of the problem. Anakin, you know, obviously not the perfect Jedi. It fell to the dark side, but he fell to the dark side for a reason. You know, he always might have had that little bit of a twinge in him, but he fell to the dark side for a reason. He wanted to save Padme. And I think even a deleted and often forgotten storyline that was removed from this trilogy was the supposed idea that, you know, Anakin thought that Obi-Wan and Padme were having an affair. That's something that's much forgotten. Obi-Wan does not do a lot to comfort Anakin in the sense of, you know, letting him know things are not as bad as they seem. You know, he does nothing when he arrives on Mustafar to be like, yo, bro, I did not turn her against you. Like, I did not sleep. I did not sleep with your wife, bro. Like, I did not do any of that. He does none of that. He defaults straight to Anakin has flipped. You know, yeah. I think personally Obi-Wan gave up on Anakin way too soon when he got to Mustafar. Like, he wasn't even fully turned at that point, in my opinion. I feel like there was a redeeming point, but even besides that, I lost something just now, and like I hate when thoughts just like run away from you for a brief moment. It was something else that Obi-Wan didn't do. Not necessarily Obi-Wan, but I think a lot of it even goes back to Qui-Gon. There's no reason, absolutely zero reason, besides the whole BS attachment thing with the Jedi, that they did not free Smee from slavery. There's no reason, absolutely zero reason. I'm good for Qui-Gon. He, you know, sensed the Force in Anakin. That's great. Yada yada yada. Bing bing bing. Like, that's all great. But he should have been able to see that, you know, this was something that was always going to eat away at him. Anakin had no idea that his mother had been freed by Owen's father. And imagine the amount of relief that Anakin would have had during his training, at least knowing that his mother was not a slave and to some degree was free. Yeah. The Jedi's sentiment of, you know, removing yourself from attachments, and a lot of the Jedi code is in fact BS. It does so much more harm than it does good, in my opinion. And that's just Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan's take. I mean, you can get into Yoda not being so afraid of Anakin, and you can get into Mace not being an a-hole, but I really do feel like of a select few people, Ahsoka being maybe one of them, a lot of that fault falls on the entirety of the Jedi that were closest to Anakin.
To your point about Obi-Wan giving up too early on Anakin, he literally witnessed his own brother, his own Padawan, murdering kids, and he saw that with his own eyes. So from Obi-Wan's perspective, I could see why he felt like Anakin was way too far into it. I don't know if there was anything that Obi-Wan could have said during that point to change Anakin's mind. Now, we can argue prior to that. We can argue what could have happened if they would have had a separate conversation before Obi-Wan and Anakin were split up when Obi-Wan went to Utapau. But in that moment, I feel like nothing could have changed Anakin's mind. Not even Padme could have. But I digress.
I think it's an interesting conversation to have. It feels like it's almost its own little like focal point of a conversation, maybe for another episode of Geeks and Goblins. Could Anakin Skywalker be saved from his fate? I think yes. And I do blame the Jedi just as much as I blame Palpatine. But to close out this particular segment, as we can go on and on about Star Wars here, as I'm sure you all can hear and or see, just to close this out, we do end on the cliffhanger. Conveniently enough, Obi-Wan's little communicator falls, and Reva learns, at least to some degree. I think it's a little exaggerated amongst the fan base right now. She learns to some degree why he would need to go back to Tatooine. We learn about the kids. I'm not sure if she immediately knows that they're Vader's kids. I guess we'll, come to find that out on episode 6. But that is where we're left off. We're left off with an image of little Luke sleeping in bed, and hopefully this all leads to the much rumored hour and a half final episode of Kenobi. With that said, with that being kind of the last point for us that's worth talking about, I think, I do still end this segment, our Obi-Wan episode 5 review, with a solid 5, and I think the first since the Batman, solid 5 out of 5 goblins. 5 goblins out of 5 goblins. It's just, I think it was masterpiece in Star Wars storytelling.
I will go ahead and say I will stick to my 4.5 out of 5 geeks as well. It was a really good episode. I've really enjoyed what we've gotten so far. And if some of these articles online are to be believed, Obi-Wan Kenobi will be killing Luke Skywalker to retcon the entire original trilogy. I'm just kidding. Let's not even entertain that.
The internet is a scary place.
Exactly.
The internet is a very scary place.
But I think it is now time to move on to our next topic, Miss Marvel Episode 2 review. I'm going to say it right off the bat, 5 out of 5 for me. The momentum has been increasing. I remember I watched Obi-Wan Kenobi Episode 5 and then Miss Marvel back to back. And then I remember at the end of Episode 2 of Miss Marvel thinking, crap, I don't feel the same way about Obi-Wan that I feel for this show. And I should feel so much more for Obi-Wan. But this episode was freaking great. We've gotten a little bit more of an introduction to Kamala Khan as a superhero, seeing her trying to juggle her school life, her own family life, and also this secret identity with her friend Bruno. The heart and the charm that OG Goblin and I were talking about for the first episode has continued to show up. This show is so good, and it's honestly really surprising how much I freaking not even just like it, but love it. It is so freaking good. From the little touches of the graphic design in the background with certain things in the environment changing, just overall perfect episode in my opinion. OG Goblin, go ahead and say your thoughts, man.
I couldn't agree more. I'm not sure if I'd give it a full 5 yet. Miss Marvel hasn't touched me in that way just yet. Although I do give it a 4 out of 5. I will give it a 4 out of 5. This show continues to surprise me at how good it is. You know, you got to be very careful, and, you know, I would even caution anybody listening to be careful with us as well. You got to be so careful with social media influencers and like content creators and their reviews on things, because man, they just a lot of them are paid and a lot of them ride the hype. I admittedly I didn't ride the hype, but you know, going into this, a lot of the bigger content creators, one day like us, one of the bigger a couple of the bigger content creators out there said, you know, hey, one episode, I've seen episode 1, I've seen episode 2, and you know, I'm kind of underwhelmed actually, not whelmed, and I gotta wonder what they're smoking. I gotta wonder what they're smoking, because this show is so damn good. Mm-hmm. It's so damn good. It is exactly what it's supposed to be. You know, I'm not going to get into the accuracy of it, the comic book accuracy, because if we go there, we'll be here for a long time. So I'm not going to get into that. What I'm going to get into is what we got. Mm-hmm. And what we get is a heartwarming story about this girl who's trying to find her place in the world, who wants to fit in, who wants to be, you know, a regular teenage girl, go to parties and go to conventions and, you know, want her family to, you know, care and fit in with her friends and do stuff with her friends, and, you know, is trying to be a good daughter and trying to be a good student. We get that here in spades. And that is, I'm so okay with that. I'm so okay with that. I'm so okay that the pace kind of slowed down here a little bit. You know, I think that pacing is perfect. You know, we got a kind of slow pace in that first episode, laying out the details, laying out who this character is, who some of her friends are. You know, we got to learn who Kamala Khan was as a person. in episode 1. As we get to the climax of that episode, and she puts the band on, she defies the parents, she goes to Avengers Con, the powers show themselves, and we get that ramp up, and then we slowly come back down on this episode. It doesn't send us jettisoning into, oh, I'm gonna be a superhero now, and I know my powers, like some of these shows do and some of these movies do. There's that learning curve, and it feels earned. She takes her time, she's slowly starting to figure it out, and we learn a little bit more about her. And then we ramp back up towards the end again, and now we're starting to see conflict.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see understanding, and I think that's really good storytelling, specifically for something like this. I don't want Kamala to end up feeling more like an adult so early on. I like seeing her go through these childhood trials and tribulations. She's got her little crush on what's Buddy's name?
Bruno. Oh no,
her love interest.
Kamran?
I think so. Yeah. We see her get that little love interest, and we see her crush over him and fawn over him, and they have their little connecting moment. And of course, he ends up having something shadier going on in the background towards the end there. But either way, like, it was just nice to see it get to that point.
Oh yeah, and I just want to give. We talked a little bit about it last episode, but this episode specifically has been some of the best acting by an ensemble that I've seen in MCU for a while now.
Really?
I would argue, yeah, honestly, like from literally everybody, everything feels so natural. There were certain points that I forgot that I was even like watching entertainment. It just felt so genuine. Everybody's like reactions, their like tiny smirks, little mannerisms like that. Seeing like her mom, as soon as Kamala mentioned her, I believe it's her grandmother.
Yeah.
Freaking seeing her mom's face completely change. I'm like, oh crap, I feel scared. It's freaking amazing. Like you said, I think it's a good thing that we got a slower pace this episode after somewhat of the breakneck pace from last episode. We got a little bit more of an explanation of the family dynamics, of the history of their family, which seems like it's going to be a very important thread to pull on in the future. We got confirmation that this band that she has isn't the source of the power. It just activated something inside of her. We saw her going from learning her own powers to being able to save a little kid, but not perfectly. I was so scared. Once that little kid fell, I'm like, oh my God, are we about to witness a freaking death? That's going to completely change the tone of everything. Everything. But thankfully, he's okay. It was a little sprained ankle. But seeing that she's not perfect, not as a person, not as a student, not as a friend, not as a daughter, not as a superhero, but seeing her try so hard to want to be the best for not just herself, but for everyone around her. That speaks to me on a soul level. And it was really nice to see. They are definitely pushing more of the family angle with this show, and that's to be expected because they did mention this was going to be aimed at the tween audience. But I think this episode proved that it could be just universal. This isn't just for kids. This isn't just for teenagers. This is for anyone who has, honestly, a heart. This has tugged on my heartstrings in positive ways and emotional ways, and I cannot wait to get more.
You really loving you some Miss Marvel, man. You really loving you some Miss Marvel. There's so much to unpack in this episode that I just love. A lot of people would probably say it was ham-fisted, and a lot of people would probably say it was rushed. But seeing her even go through those struggles of being a Muslim American, was intriguing for me. I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of the fan base is probably going to hit that whole, I don't need all this in my Marvel. I don't need all this. I think I said a good couple episodes before, and I'm gonna say it again. All you keep politics out of my comic books and keep politics out of my video games, people. I bet for you video game people, BioShock is one of your favorite franchises, and I bet for all you comic book people, you just love all the comic books. Well, guess what? It's been there. It's gonna stay, and I think I think Miss Marvel handles it very well. I think it shows an interesting side of things.
Yeah.
I think we don't get a lot of I don't think we don't get a lot of representation of what Muslim culture is really like, and I'm not going to sit here and speak to say that this is a perfect representation. That's not my place, and I do not know. But from the little bit that I do know, it's stuff that I've seen. I've been to Eid, and I've seen that camaraderie, and I've seen those kind of like little separations, those things I'm familiar with, and I'm through friends I'm familiar with the separation of men and women at prayer, and I've even heard that sentiment that a lot of the times the women's area is not very well kept, and there's theft and stuff like that. So seeing that and then stuff clicking in my head like, oh my gosh, like I've heard about that, like, so just for me, from what I'm aware of, the representation so far has been really spot on, and I think that's so refreshing. The only other show that I'm familiar with that even shows a little bit of that, a lot more of it actually, is Rami on Hulu, which I'm gonna go ahead and just recommend that right now. If you've not seen it, some of the best TV I've ever seen about somebody finding themselves. That aside, though, Miss Marvel hits a lot of notes for me. Storytelling beats, acting beats. As always, Iman Vellani is just killing this role, man. She's meant to be Kamala Khan. And it's nice to see a little bit more Nakia here as well. If you don't know in the comics, Nakia, her best friend, she's actually not a Miss Marvel lover at all. She does not like her. So it's going to be interesting to see that progress a little bit there. Maybe after, she failed to fully save that kid, we might finally see that pop out a little bit, like, oh, we've got a hero running around who doesn't know what she's doing, like, people are going to get hurt. We might see a little bit of that here. But everybody is firing on all cylinders. I can agree there. All the actors are impressive. There's no one in this cast so far that's making me go, oh, stop. So if you're in the chat, man, and you're a Geeks and Goblins fan, you're a Geeks and Goblins lover, and you take our recommendations to heart, and you've either been on the fence about Miss Marvel, starting to watch it, or you didn't like it, give it a second chance with an open mind, please. Please, please, please. This cast deserves it. They're doing a fantastic job. Again, we're not going to get into the accuracy in the comics. We're going to get into what we were given, and what we're getting right now is a grade A product.
100%. Like, I remember going into this, you and I feel like we didn't really know what to expect. We didn't know how we would react to this show. And so far, like you said, I've been loving it. I'm going to be ordering a Miss Marvel shirt very, very shortly. I am in love with the show. But real quick, I want to make two quick side notes.
Yeah. We got time.
At the very beginning, we saw basically the entire high school abuzz because Zoe has gained a bunch of followers. I believe she quadrupled her following because she was saved by Nightlight. And she was so melodramatic in her TikToks. Oh, I feel like she knew that I could handle this. And then you would see her in school talking about, oh, we're going to throw a party to celebrate the fragility of life. I saw a bright white light washing all over.
Oh, it makes me sick. Stop it.
It made me realize something that I'm so grateful of. I am so happy that I went through high school during the beginning of this whole social media era. I am so happy that I didn't have to worry about the most popular kid in school with like 3 million TikTok followers. Screw that. God, I don't need it. This looks toxic as hell from what they're portraying, and honestly, it looks like it's very realistic. Second quick note. I think we've gotten confirmation on the truth of what caused Stephen Strange's demise in Multiverse of Madness. It's a big revelation. I didn't expect to see it so soon in Miss Marvel, but the Illuminantes, they are devious. They are the true villains of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Their gossiping is going to put Thanos to shame, and
Look,
that's all I want to say.
if everybody knows the Illuminantes, okay, that is not just a Muslim thing, all right, for anyone watching. That is not like, I'm sorry, I can't speak to everybody, but if you are a person of color, you know the Illuminantes. They're wild, bro. They're out here. They're dangerous. Like they are dangerous. When they said the Illuminantes, I chuckled. I was like, oh god, I know them. I may not know them, but I know them. Oh my gosh! And to your point, your earlier point about not growing up, I mean, not going through high school at the time. When did you graduate?
I graduated high school in 2016.
2016.
Yeah.
Oh my god! So you really did. You really. We went through a whole different era. Like I think I don't know when Vine popped up, or let me rephrase. I don't know when Vine popped off exactly. I graduated in 2010. Excuse me. I graduated in 2010. So, I mean, we really didn't have to deal with the social media stuff. The most we had to deal with was like, yo, why am I not in your top 5 on MySpace anymore, man? Like, that was the most we had to deal with. Like, so, I mean, oh my god, I couldn't imagine, like, what it's like going through school right now. I can't even ask my sisters to help me relate to it, because they're like, they both did online school, so they're not like in the system, like going through any of that. But like, dude, like, ugh. Like, actually, I take that back. My other sister is always on her phone, so I'm going to like, I'm gonna pick her brain and be like, hey, what's going on? What are the kids going through right now? Who has the most followers in the class? And is this a point of contention? Like, I need to know these things because it's just Admittedly, it is foreign to me. I actually even said this to Azu while we were watching. I was like, at the party scene when her little crush... God, why can't I remember her name? Kamran, we said this.
Kamran,
when her
yes.
crush, like, jumped off of the roof into the pool, I was like, they did not have parties like this in high school. No one was having parties like this in high school. It's like the one thing that they, at least in my experience, but I'm like, it's like the one thing they can't get right. If they, like, what is with these random ragers? And, like, nobody, well, I guess the neighbors did call the cops. But, like, okay, actually, this was the shortest TV movie party I've ever seen in my life. Usually they're at the party for, like, 2 hours, it feels like. 2-3 hours, and then the cops get called. This was, like, Kamala showed up, the party was just getting started, the cops. So,
it's because they saw a person of color walking into the party.
That's a fact.
Like,
let's get into... that's actually a perfect segue into the Department of Damage Control officer. That's kind of disgusting how you did that. Of a segue. That was kind of like my last little talking point here that I wanted to talk about. Are we going to see, and I use this word specifically because I think it's interesting. Are we going to see our first... Okay, maybe not the first, because Captain America, the first movie happened, so let's take it another step. Are we going to see our second, like, prejudiced, racist, like, villain in a show? She was very adamant about, like, pulling out whether it was a person of color that was in the Nightlight suit. And it was as uncomfortable for me as it was for Zoe. And I think what made it uncomfortable was it's a reality that we do still live in, you know? We are still, in a lot of ways, just to use this phrasing so everyone can understand, we are still in a lot of ways in a post-9/11 world. So, like, that, it was uncomfortable for Zoe, and it was uncomfortable for me, just to kind of, like, see that. And to see Marvel continue to go to these little bit darker of corners than they're used to is continuously surprising for me. And I applaud them for going there. I think people that try to shy away from things that, you know, depict these real world problems that people have, I think people that try to shy away from that are afraid. and
Yeah.
don't understand, and like they don't understand that this is something that people actually really do go through. So I think it's important that they're showing this.
It goes back to what you were saying about people wanting politics to stay out of movies, shows, books, games, and anything that they find fun. The reality of the situation is politics is such a wide and such a you can't necessarily put that label on anything because everything is political by nature. Literally, our phones are political. Our social media that we use, the websites that we use, the news, even entertainment news that we choose to read is all political. If you don't like politics in video games or in shows, you are a hypocrite because there is something in your life that is inherently political. Politics is just a word. It's about a philosophy of how to govern with a lot of situations and a lot of different populations, right? Now,
Yep.
people of color deserve this type of representation. They deserve the validation that what they're going through is not something that they're going through alone. It is a reality of the world that we're living. And I want to say that I'm very much disappointed in a lot of the xenophobic response that I've seen for this show. It has been disgusting. And I want to say right now, I think I speak for the both of us, Geeks and Goblins definitely renounces any of that behavior.
100%.
Seeing that scene, it made me so uncomfortable. And I just didn't know where they were going to go with it. I really didn't. And I'm not gonna lie, I worry for Kamala and her family and her community going forward in these next couple of episodes. But rant mode is over. I want to dial it back a little bit, and I do want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
So the Department of Damage Control, is that something that we see in the comics at all? Is there
Yes.
any basis to that?
Yes, 100%. They are 100% comic accurate. Maybe a little bit. I could be wrong about this. I'm not sure if they are to the extent that they are now, where they kind of act as a kind of government agency that kind of acts with a little bit of the arm of the law as well. If I remember correctly, in the comics, they are just their own separate entity that cleans up. They don't really take on any of this hunting down new metahumans, for the sake of the word. They don't really do that. They are there when the Hulk destroys a city block in Manhattan to do damage control. They assess the damage done. I think Stark takes up the bill, maybe, or they bill whoever's. I don't really know. I'm not too familiar with damage control, but yes, they do exist in the comics. To this extent, I do not believe so, but damage control does exist.
Interesting. Okay. So I do not know where they're gonna go. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I get such a emotional, excited feeling when I watch this show compared to Obi-Wan. We discussed this already on the show and off the show. Obi-Wan doesn't feel like it has any stakes. We know how everything's gonna end up. Hell, like even people who read the comic book, such as yourself, we don't know where this story is gonna go because it's a completely different story than what we've gotten in the past in terms of Miss Marvel. And I feel like that just adds a level of intrigue to these episodes.
Yep.
And I'm so excited to keep this going.
Yeah, absolutely. As we get ready to kind of close out this segment and move into our final topic for the night, a couple of quick things that I do want to bring up, some Easter eggs and some things I'm looking forward to. First and foremost, the Edith bots from Spider-Man No Way Home. Pardon, not No Way Home. Spider-Man Homecoming. Yeah, the second one. The second one. Yeah, Far From Home. Thank you, Jesus. Spider-Man Far From Home. The Edith bots. It looks like Damage Control has control of the Edith bots. It was very interesting to see them there. I'm wondering how much more of a role they are going to play. But that was interesting. Also, we get a nice little reference to Kingo for anyone who saw the Eternals. That was dope to hear them talk about Kingo. For those of you who haven't seen the Eternals yet, first off, stop listening to reviews and stuff like that. Go watch the frickin' movie. It's cinematically beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful films in the MCU, if not the most beautiful film in the MCU. Go frickin' watch it. Kingo, played by Kumail Nanjiani, or Nanjiani, pardon. He plays a character that when he spoilers, broke from the Eternals when they separated, went on to India, and essentially has been the same Bollywood star since the formation of Bollywood. He just pretends to be the next Kingo's heir. So I think right now maybe he might be Kingo the 20th. It was dope to hear them talk about, oh yeah, one of my favorite Bollywood movies starring Kingo Sr. And like, it was just kind of dope to hear those little connective tissues in the MCU happen. As well as, my thing that I'm looking forward to, I'm very much looking to see what's going on with Kamala's grandma. There's so many theories floating around right now, and I cannot wait till we get to the bottom of what's going on there. I hope and pray that we connect the Eternals. I'm sorry, the Inhumans. I hope and pray that happens.
The biggest question though is like, did she get those mangoes though? Did she get those mangoes?
It's a question. It's a very important question.
We must find out in the next episode, I think. But yes, I feel like that entire just the family ties with this power. It's very mysterious. At the very, very end of the episode, we saw when Kamala was trying to save that kid. We saw what we believe is her great-grandmother showing up. People have said very nasty things about her. Her own mother hates this woman. I am so looking forward to seeing more of these family ties and just more of this history.
Oh, super, super excited. Utopian Revolt, your final scoring on episode 2 of Miss Marvel.
Very breezy 5 out of 5 for me for this episode.
Completely unexpected. Man, we're just dropping bombs over here on this episode. I will leave my final review at a solid 4. Loved every bit of it. Could they fix some things? Yeah, but it's a great show. It is a fantastic show. And with that, sir, would you like to lead us on to the final topic of the night?
7 days ago, we got possibly the best conference, the best showcase of the summer. We must see how Sony and PlayStation responds. But we got the Xbox and Bethesda Showcase, which OG Goblin and I live reacted to on this very same channel. So real quick, I forget exactly what score I gave it. I believe I gave it a 4.
I think you might give it a 4.
Okay. If I didn't give it a 4, it is a 4 out of 5 Geeks for me. It was everything that we were hoping for, and maybe even a little more. We got the surprises, we got the big hitters, we got freaking 3 hours of Forza Motorsport.
Certainly felt like 3 damn hours.
Oh man, no. This was a banger of a conference. It's exactly what we were looking for. We got Starfield, we got Diablo 4, we got more that we will be speaking on. OG Goblin, what are your thoughts on this Xbox Bethesda conference that we had 7 days ago?
Let's open the gate with a 4 out of 5. Easy. Easy 4 out of 5. By far the best bit of Summer Game Fest that we've gotten. I'm not sure if it's still going on. I think we're officially over, but I could be wrong. But either way, the best piece of Summer Game Fest that we got, hands down. It blew Sony's conference out of the water. Personally, it blew the Summer Game Fest presentation out of the water. And it just really did nothing for me but make me miss E3, baby. I cannot wait till next year. I really, really hope it gets kicked off the ground. But I mean, for me, Redfall, the Riot announcement, Overwatch 2 going free to play, Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn, a game that looks surprisingly interesting for me. What else? Diablo 4, to a minor degree, Sea of Thieves, very, very, very minor degree. The Persona 3 through 5 announcement coming to Xbox and PC. The Snooze Fest, that's the Hideo Kojima Xbox partnership. And the Starfield gameplay reveal. Ushy gushy. This damn thing had something for everyone.
listen, it's not surprising. I think anyone could have seen it coming. Nowadays, we live in such a divisive society, and sometimes it feels like people are divisive just to be divisive, just to be contrarian. But Starfield's gameplay reveal was divisive. But on this very channel, I think you and I were nothing but excited. We have a small tinge of worry that things are being overpromised. But we're freaking excited for it. Starfield showed off everything it needed to. The very initial gameplay reveal that they had, the first couple minutes where they showed off you coming out of the planet, you essentially playing No Man's Sky HD. The combat looked kind of rough, got me a little bit worried. But as soon as they pulled out of the combat, and they started talking about the role-playing elements, as soon as they showed off New Atlantis, as soon as they started talking about these character traits, the character creator, everything you'll be able to do, the ship creation, the outpost creation, they got me. What is it? Line, hook, and sinker.
Yep.
They got me, man. I am so excited for this one. But I do want to give a shout out. After thinking about it for a while, I really do think that my personal game of the show was Diablo 4. Everything that they showed off on that game screamed Game of the Year contender to me. And ever since, Friendly Feline and I have been obsessed with Diablo 3. We've been playing it for the first time ever. I've been getting into Diablo Immortal. Man, Diablo 4 has me so excited. Open world, shared spaces, dedicated PvP area. I'm going to keep going on and on. We have some time to talk about this conference, but I would like to hear your thoughts on Starfield.
I'm cautiously excited. The honeymoon phase of Starfield has officially died out for me, and we've of course heard some concerning things. Of course, the main concern from the conference was the 1,000 planets to land on. Well, does that mean we're going to have 1,000 planets of content, or are we just going to have some duds? I'd like to think, just like in real space, not every planet is going to be interesting. Some of them are just dead. Like, I get that, mine them for resources. They might just look really cool. I understand that. I think in a space-based game, that's kind of where you can afford to have worlds that kind of just exist for the sake of being there. So they do get that excuse. And I mean, I guess now that more and more you think about it, when you actually look at the amount of planets that, are inhabitable in our solar system or, are interesting in our solar system, they are minuscule. So, maybe the 1,000 planets to explore thing isn't really an exaggeration. Maybe it's literally 1,000 planets to explore, but that doesn't mean they're going to be great. Like, I could see them popping up and being like, hey guys, we never said you could do everything on those planets. We just said you could explore them. Calm down. Like, we're not leading anybody on. They're there. You can go to them, but that doesn't mean they're going to be great. Do I accept that as an answer? Yes. Do I like it? F no. Absolutely not. Like, give me content on every planet. Besides that, I think the biggest exciting thing from that for a lot of people was, hey, you can literally build your own ship. Not just, you can buy a ship or you can customize a ship or you can, get new parts for your ship. No, like, you can literally build it. Like, you played Kingdom Hearts? Guess what? Gummy ship, but not gummy ship.
Right.
Right. Like, I'm totally here for that. I support every ounce of that. That's super lit, So, super looking forward to that. And of course, I've told a few people this. Come to find out, we will not be getting orbit to planet flight. So, if you're familiar with Destiny 2, presumably we're going to get that kind of situation. You choose to go to a planet, you get a little cutscene where you're, like, flying to the planet, and then you land. I'm thinking what the idea is, when you get towards a planet, like, a quick cutscene to get you into the atmosphere, and then you can fly the whole planet. They have said you can actually fly around the entirety of the planet. So, like No Man's Sky. So that'll be cool. It's just you will not be able to go from land to space simultaneously. Is probably the better phrasing. All in all, though, I'm super excited for Starfield. It's the game of the show for me. It's the game of the show for me, and I cannot wait for this game to come out.
Game Pass, day one, Just want to put that out there. Even if you have any reservations on Starfield, you are still going to be able to play it as long as you have Game Pass. So, enough with the negativity, enough with the blatant divisiveness. What we will get probably will not meet up to the expectations because the expectations are so sky high. We've seen this story play out over and over, no matter it's a video game, no matter it's a show or a movie. It's not ever going to live up to the expectations because the internet is freaking crazy. People are freaking crazy. But is it going to be a good game? It looks like it will be. Is it going to be a good RPG? It looks like it will be a great one. I'm so happy we're finally getting a new engine. Those facial animations, while they didn't look perfect, like some of the eyes didn't look too focused, it still looks so much better than anything we've seen before from Bethesda. And I am very much looking forward to it. Just real quick, certain games that I don't want to spend too much time talking about, but I do want to give an honorable mention. Wolong Fallen Dynasty was revealed by Team Ninja. It looks freaking amazing. From what it sounds like, it's going to be like an open world Neo type of game. Hell yeah. Give me more of that. I'm excited. I was a big Neo and Neo 2 fan. Also, Minecraft Legends. I know that segment got a couple eye rolls from some people, but Minecraft Legends does look like it's going to be a lot of fun. Minecraft Dungeons was one of the sleeper hits of that time when it first launched, and this looks like it's going to just take that in a little bit more of a strategy format, which I am excited for. So OG Goblin mentioned it also, but Redfall looks like a lot of fun.
Looks so much fun.
It honestly looks like a mix of like Left 4 Dead with Deathloop, but you put it into an open world, and that gets me so freaking excited. It looks good. I don't like how every single post-apocalyptic game that we're getting recently has this attitude wave of it. It feels like everything has been affected by the MCU type of humor. So that kind of was a little off-putting, but the characters look cool. The gameplay looks amazing. Some of like the co-op type of things that you can do, where one person puts down their like lift and then the other person goes up, throws a C4. That type of stuff looks amazing. So shout out to Arcane and to Bethesda for putting out a trailer that I think sold me on Redfall. Also, massive shout out to Hollow Knight Silksong coming to Game Pass day one. Everyone was like, it's not even coming out. Listen, that game looks great. It looks like the animation is just the same, which I freaking love. Man, that game has so much charm, and I'm looking forward to playing it. And last shout out I want to give is a game that OG Goblin and I thought was fake when we read a fake showcase presentation, but Pentiment being made by
the real game of the show.
I'm not gonna lie, man. Listen, Obsidian is fantastic with their writing, and having a lower budget game like this with a very unique art style, I cannot wait to play it. Again, day one on Game Pass, so I'm not gonna even have to spend any money on it. So thank you, Xbox. Thank you, Obsidian, for making this come true. But yeah, that is my little end of the segment here. So do you have any honorable mentions of your own, Mr. OG Goblin?
In the beginning of the segment, I kind of laid out what was exciting for me.
Mm-hmm.
So no, not really. I guess at this point, the only thing that I would really have to talk about is just giving kudos to Microsoft. I've been giving them a lot of praise this year leading up to this showcase, and for once it feels good to feel like it feels good to know that that praise was put in the right place. They did their damn thing, okay? They came out with guns swinging, Redfall, Silksong, and the Riot Games announcement within like what the first 10 minutes of the conference. Like, guys, this is Riot Games. This is the top dog of esports that we're talking about. All right, the top dog of esports, and they're just jumping on the Microsoft ship, man.
Your jaw was literally on the floor for I think the following 10 minutes. It even crossed over to the next game.
It was so unexpected.
I've never seen you seem that shocked at anything. It was a sight to behold, and I'm not gonna lie, man. I am also very excited and very, very much shocked about this announcement. No one expected it. No leaks, no insider information. It
Nothing.
just freaking dropped.
Nothing. Nothing.
Oh my
Like,
god.
dude, like, and like, admittedly, and I said it after the broadcast, and I'll say it again here, I was initially overhyped for the announcement. I thought we were getting like League and Val on Xbox. Like, I
Yeah,
thought
same.
that's what was happening. So admittedly, yeah, I was a little overhyped, but with that said, it's still a ridiculous announcement. You pay for Game Pass, you get every Val agent, you get every League champion, and something to do with TFT and Runeterra. I'm not a big player of Runeterra, and I just forgot what they said about TFT because the rest of the announcement was jaw dropping. So that's just super exciting, you know. That's super big, and that could mean even more. There have been rumors for years about Val getting a console port, in some way. So I mean, you know, next thing you know, you get Game Pass and Val is on your Xbox like that day. So you
Yep.
know, I think that's a big build up to something like that as well. Honestly, I think that kind of bolsters the idea that Val will, if it will be coming to consoles, maybe even an Xbox, Xbox PC exclusive. You know,
That'd
that
be
would be insane.
massive.
That would be
That would,
absolutely insane.
between like that and Overwatch 2, undoubtedly probably going to be getting some exclusive content to Xbox. Like, I'm not gonna lie, man. I don't know how PlayStation can bolster their multiplayer lineup to respond to this. They're gonna have to probably solely focus on single player. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But I want to real quick about this Ryan announcement say that it's very interesting that they mentioned that they're all going to be available on Xbox Game Pass, which presumably means they're going to be on the Xbox storefront, both on PC but also on the Game Pass app. Um, I feel like we're starting to see more and more companies create an Apple Arcade, Google Play Pass type of competitor. We've seen Netflix starting to have their own selection of games on their apps that you can play. And now, are we going to be getting Teamfight Tactics and Legends of Runeterra on the Game Pass app? Or are we going to be getting just a code that we can use or something like that? I don't know. It's very interesting. A lot of ramifications potentially from this riot.
Oh, absolutely. And just kind of to riff off of what you were saying there, we've recently in my household we've gotten the PlayStation Premium subscription,
Mhm.
and I've got to admit, I am absolutely floored by it. The
Oh yeah.
fact that they have not talked about it more just blows my mind, dude. It deserved to be part of their state of play, if you ask me, especially considering how close it was to launch for them at the time. It is overwhelming. And I know we spoke about it on Geeks and Goblins, so I have laid out the fact that I was excited for the lineup before, but it took having it in my hands and it becoming tangible for me to be like, whoa, like Sony has a Sony has a game changer here. Actually, like
Oh.
the I looked at Jack 2, like just like I was able to open it up if I wanted to. I didn't just because you know I was enticed by Toy Story 2, the Buzz Lightyear game. But I it just things like that. Even I haven't had an opportunity to play that game in years. It was one of the last games that I ever really got to play. Pardon, on my PS2 because it didn't run. Well, no, I did have a PS3 Fat, so I might have been able to. I might have loaded it up on my PS3 from time to time. But point being is, like, that is a game that is deeply seated and rooted in my childhood. I was able to just pick it up and play it and say like, oh my god, I know exactly where I need to go. I breezed through the first level like I was drinking a cup of water. It was ridiculous to me. And Sony has a sleeper that they're just not talking about. And I think that last part, them not talking about it, is exactly why in the console war conversation, people will sit back and remember Summer Game Fest and say Xbox won Summer Game Fest. Because
100%.
Sony has so many sleeper things that they could be talking about or announcing, but they just keep giving us these little tastes every now and then. In hindsight, yeah, I still stay it. I will say it and I mean it. I think the state of play was I think I gave it a 3. I'm gonna backtrack on that, probably even further than I did after the Xbox conference. I'm just gonna give it a flat out 1.
Ooh, well, man, I can't go that far because we did get Final Fantasy 16, and that by itself warrants at least 3 stars for
Well,
me.
that was the
But
one.
right, right. Street Fighter 6 also looked kind of cool, but I will agree with you. I definitely think it was underwhelming. A lot of people were coming out of it saying it was the best state of play we've gotten. I and you, from what it sounds like, completely disagree with that. I feel like very much like the Jedi, Sony is falling victim to its own hubris. We've seen this type of Sony before with the PlayStation 3 era Sony, right?
Yeah.
I feel like they can't just keep giving us 30-minute state of plays. Oh, here's a couple games. Oh, here's a blog post. Here's a couple games. Here's a couple. We need the return of that whole God of War orchestra Sony, where they introduced this concept of game after game after game after game, which Microsoft executed flawlessly with this showcase. We need the return of that Sony. We need another hour and a half state of play. Don't be dividing no freaking third-party games and first-party games. Give us all of it, man. We, the gamers, want that PlayStation, and we are wanting you to do well. We don't want you to fall victim to this crazy monopoly that Microsoft is becoming. We want competition, and we want good things. Talk more about the PlayStation Plus premium. Come on, give us that, man. Give us that.
I mean, like, I'm gonna pull up a list of some of the things on there. But I was even introduced to a random game by Azu that I had never ever even heard of before. I'm gonna break the veil really quick. What was the name of that game? Are you awake? She's not awake. She's not awake at all. Oh God, was Cell Damage? I think it was. I think it was called Cell Damage. God, I wish she was awake right now to tell me. This probably means I'm also gonna have to cook my own dinner tonight. But like, oh man, I cannot. Cell Damage.
Oh jeez.
Well, it is Cell Damage. It is Cell Damage. Yeah, this random game that it's just a random like twisted metal-esque game that's like just really goofy and silly, and like I never heard of it before a day in my life, but we played it for like an hour and a half. Like it was one of her childhood games, and I think that's something that's kind of the point that I'm trying to make here. We spent 3 hours playing childhood games.
Oh, that's nice, man.
Just 3 straight hours. And I was sitting there looking at it, and I was going through the catalog, and I'm like, you know what? I don't need day 1 releases here. As long as they keep up this library, I'm chilling, man. Like, I'm freaking chilling. Like, she's gonna play the Arkham games. She's never played the Arkham games. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the Legendary Edition or whatever the collection is, Return to Arkham. Return to Arkham is on there. Like, come on, man.
Nice.
The entirety of the Uncharted franchise is on there.
Yes.
I mean, I did this before, and I'm gonna
filter like there, bro.
Yes.
It's literally PlayStation greatest hits.
Exactly. Ghost of Tsushima, the director's cut. God of War is on there. I believe all the God of War games are on there. Yep. I could be mistaken. I could very well be mistaken. But there's the classic catalog. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, every God of War game is on here. Every God of War game. Jak and Daxter, Jak 2, Jak 3, Jak X Racing is on there.
What? No, I did not know that. Don't tell me.
Yep. Star Wars Racer Revenge, Star Wars The Force Unleashed 2, Star Wars Bounty Hunter, Jedi Starfighter, Force Unleashed Ultimate Sith Edition, like, Saints Row 2, arguably the best Saints Row game. I don't care about your opinions. Darksiders 1 and 2.
Ooh.
Dark Void, who remembers that?
Yes, I remember that. That game is massively underrated.
So underrated. Ooh.
So, quick correction. We did see the appearance of PlayStation Plus Premium in that state of play, only for a single game. Stray. We did get confirmation that Stray will be coming to PS Plus
True,
Premium
true,
day
true, true.
one. Hmm.
True, absolutely true.
But still, that's not enough of a mention. Like I feel like they should have taken at least a couple minutes. Like, hey, listen, we have this really cool service, and then just freaking a quick flash of all these different franchises. That's all you gotta do, man.
I couldn't agree more. I really do hope as we get to closing out here, I really do hope that the directors and the execs over there at Sony watch that conference and they sit back and they ask themselves like, how do we do that
Right.
the next time around? Like, what's the game plan, guys? How do we do that? And I really hope they take some stock into what their fan base is looking for, and to what they're going to deliver. Because man, they've got to deliver more. They just have to.
The sad part is, man, like they've done this before.
Yeah.
They've had some of the best E3 conferences we've ever seen before. They've done it before. What are they? I don't know. Maybe they know something we don't. They have all the data analytics that are not necessarily shown to us. From what we see, they have a massive fan base. They still have like PS5s are still sold out everywhere. They have the following. Maybe they just feel like they don't need to do any of that. But that's just like it ruins some of the excitement, and maybe they don't care about the excitement because they're going to be getting the money either way, especially now with a lot of their games being ported to PC. But like for the lovers of E3, for those of us who felt like that was the holiday of the year, it is a little disappointing.
Absolutely. It's sad, but this is what we're in. I love Sony to death. They were my first console. I will always remember them that way. I will never truly talk bad about Sony. And if I ever do talk bad about Sony, it's because I know what they're capable of. But we have this back and forth. We've had this back and forth since the PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2, they completely understood the assignment. PlayStation 3, they did not understand the assignment. PlayStation 4, they understood the assignment. PlayStation 5, I would honestly go as far as to say it's probably still too early to tell.
Yeah.
We haven't had a lot on the console, and honestly, that can be said for the Xbox as well. But I think this PlayStation Plus Premium is a step in the right direction, and honestly, I hope they keep giving us more stuff like that.
I'm gonna. I feel like we're nearing the end of this segment and also of this episode. I want to pose a simple question that I request a simple answer only because I feel like we can explore this on a later Geeks and Goblins, and I feel like we will.
Okay.
Do you think it is too soon for a PS5 Pro and an Xbox Series XX or whatever they're gonna end up calling it?
I always think it's too soon. I'm not sure if you caught that. I always think it's too soon. Just to keep it plain and simple. Stop trying to bleed money out of everybody.
That's true.
Plain and simple.
Yeah. Only do it if there's something worth showing, something worth doing. And I feel like we haven't even come close to the limits of what these new gen consoles could do. I feel like starting later this year, we are going to be getting new gen only titles. We can't even call it new gen anymore.
We can't.
Nearing 2 years. It's current gen. We're finally at the point where it's current gen. We can't be calling it new gen, next gen, none of that stuff. It just feels like these 2 years have gone by in a blink, and we haven't really seen much of what these consoles are capable.
Couldn't agree more. And it's sad, but I don't know. Maybe we'll get there. I'd like to think that there's something coming, man. And I mean there is. We've seen the launch lineups for the next couple of months. Leading into 2023. So I think we're in for some treats, man. I really do. I really do.
I really do think that 2023 is going to be the best year in gaming history. We have so much that's been delayed because of the pandemic, and it just feels like all these bangers. Listen, Jedi Survivor, Starfield, Redfall, like those are some of the few that we're going to be getting next year.
God of War Ragnarok.
God of War Ragnarok, Resident Evil 4 remake, Final Fantasy 7 rebirth.
Knights of the Old Republic remake.
Freaking Final Fantasy 16 is also supposed to be coming out next year.
Hopefully,
Dude.
Grand Theft Auto 6.
Oh, that's a little ambitious, but yes,
We're gonna get an announcement this year. I guarantee it.
Okay, all right, take it to the bank.
Taking it to the bank.
Someone please clip that for future purposes.
It's YouTube. They can't clip it good.
So, hell yeah. 2023, I think, is going to be the year where the pandemic's hold on the gaming industry kind of breaks free a little bit, and I'm so excited to see it. I'm so excited to be a part of it, and I'm excited to cover it on Geeks and Goblins with you.
As am I. As we reach the end of our show here, Utopian Revolt, tell the people where they can see you next.
You can see me next tomorrow. It hasn't been yet. I'm going to be announcing it right now. We are going to be doing a co-stream of Roller Champions. It is so much fun. You guys are going to be seeing some really cool stuff there. But then also on Tuesday, I will be doing Knights of Old Republic Definitive Edition Episode 2. If you haven't watched Episode 1, we have over 130 mods into that game. It looks like a brand new game. Please join me on that. And then, of course, next Friday, I'll be streaming Mass Effect again. But then you can also find me on at Utopian Revolt on the Goblin Gang Entertainment Discord. You already know the drill.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And as the man himself just said, you'll see me tomorrow here on Goblin Gang Entertainment, playing some Roller Champions, and that was not a pause for dramatic effect. I forgot the name of the channel. That's bad of me. And then you'll see me again on Wednesday, playing some Cyberpunk, continuing my journey through Night City. I'm gonna complete it this time. I swear to God. And then of course back Saturday with another episode of Geeks and Goblins. We are back on schedule, baby. We are back on schedule this week. No more playing games, no missed streams, no nothing. Alright, nothing's getting in the way of this success, god damn it. Alright, we're gonna blow up. It's gonna happen sooner or later, and we're gonna do it with your help. If you are here and you have not liked the video, please like the video. It kicks us further up the algorithm. YouTube just loves it. It's like feeding. Feed the system, feed the algorithm. Let people know that Geeks and Goblins is out here. Let them know that Goblin Gang Entertainment is live and proud. Go watch Utopian Revolt's review on Diablo Immortal. Give that a like, give that a comment, give it a share. Do it over here, do it over there, do it on TikTok as well. We are also on TikTok. We never really talk about it because it's not our main focus, but hey, if we can blow it up, let's do it. Live on TikTok at Goblin Gang Entertainment. We're very easy to find. We have a very, very unique name. Google us. Make your life happy. Sir, it's always a pleasure.
It is, man. Thanks for having me on for another episode 13. Let us keep it going.
Keeping it going. Episode 14 next week, bitches. We will see you on the next one. Good night, Revolutionaries. Good night, Goblin Gang. Love you to death. See you later on the next one.